So we bought our AVID CNC machine back in 2017, and it's been through a bunch of projects. It's paid itself off, and we kind of decided it's time to do a review and talk about the custom base that we made for it. Let's do it. So I want to make this a pretty short review of this machine and then talk about the custom base that we've designed. So the machine we bought is a 48 by 96 machine. AVID provides kits for lots of different sizes: 2x4, 4x4, 4x8, 5x5, 5x10. All of them have different uses, but we wanted to be able to process a full 4x8 sheet. And our long-term vision was that we were maybe going to buy a second machine that would do plasma cutting for metal and that kind of thing. Next, let's talk about price. Because it's a kit, AVID's able to provide it at a much more reasonable cost than a machine of this size from another manufacturer. There's a lot of options these days. You can go Chinese, import it yourself. You can go with an imported Chinese machine that's been rebranded potentially, which takes another markup, or you can go with a local or European made machine that has local support. And there's reasons to go with any number of those three. Personally, here at Boko, we really have this mentality that we want to make everything and we want to make anything. So we always got excited about the kit because it allowed us to service it and know how it works and how it all fits together so that if there's an issue, we can fix it ourselves. That brings us to another point, which is that AVID CNCs have a great community behind them. They've got lots of people on Facebook, and the team themselves at AVID are great at helping you solve any issues, whether it be mechanical issues, wear issues, replacement parts, software issues, G-code issues, you name it. There's a community and people are behind you. So when you buy one of these machines, you're not signing up for high service fees and uncertainty. You're signing up for DIY, fix yourself, understand yourself. And it's kind of like big kid Lego. How could you not love it? Last reason we bought it was that DIY element. The fact that we could put it together ourselves, make modifications to it that suited our needs, and understand how it all goes together so that in the event that we do have a mechanical issue or failure, we can replace the parts one by one, and we can understand what those parts do as part of the whole system. It just makes us much more comfortable making a large purchase like this because we know that we can service the machine and that it will have a long-term impact in our workshop. We won't be forced to hire somebody to come in and service it. And just generally, it's way more fun to do yourself. Because we're not a production shop strictly, we don't use this machine every day, but we do use it for every project. And it's come in handy for every single project that we've had since we bought this machine. It's really opened up new avenues and new projects for us as well. The only thing we've actually had to replace on this machine are the belts on the y-axis. And the reason for that is at the very beginning, we had the machine ram against the front, and it was our fault because the Y motors got crossed in the construction of the machine. So the machine wanted to keep coming forward, and that tore up the belts. So since then, we ran the belts quite a long time, actually, still after that incident, and they held up, but they did disintegrate over time because of the wear of the strands that are in this belt. They did come out. So we've replaced these belts on the Y, but they've held up really well. We replaced them with genuine Gates belts. They're amazing, and I don't think we've ever replaced that belt on the gantry. So it just goes to show the components are great. As long as you're greasing your components, this thing's gonna keep going for you. The repeatability hasn't changed. Really zero maintenance other than greasing it. talk about some of the other reasons why this machine is awesome, why we would totally do it again, and some of the custom things that we did to the machine that we could improve on for next time, but we really wanted to share with the AVID CNC community so that they could see how we did it. One of the reasons we bought the AVID CNC is that the gantry sliders and the rack and pinion are below the table. So rather than having, like with the ShopBot, it's up here, and you can really only get material up and over that or in from the end of the table. Both are really frustrating. So we really liked that AVID put it on the side. And right away what we did was we built a custom base as opposed to using their standard leg kit, which has a leg in the middle, leg on the ends and cross supports. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to increase our storage underneath. We have a really small shop, and we couldn't afford to leave that as wasted space. We really wanted to be able to put a full pallet of plywood in here if we got a big job. So that steel frame allowed us to do that. And what we did was just used rectangular tube and lapped it on top of another one so that we got the clearance we needed for the sensors. And in the old kit, the sensors stuck out, which was really annoying, and a lot of people broke them off. So what we did was we just enclosed it and incorporated it as part of the design. And we also just threw in our e-stop there as well. Gives us a nice little tray to set tools and wrenches for doing changes. And it gives you even a spot just to set a drink or whatever while you're working. On this side, it does the same thing. So you can see it enclosed the sensor. And we still have the sensors on the gantry here that stick out, which are quite annoying. They've since shifted these to the top, aimed down. And what that does is it decreases your footprint in width, which is great because you don't really have anything sticking out that far below. Now, that brings us to this. This is one of the only things I did not like about the AVID CNC machine. Whereas on the back of the gantry, this electrical component doesn't really take up space that you need. When it's on the side, it really takes up space and it prevents you from getting close to the bed. So we designed this bracket, and this bracket basically just linked on the side of the machine here. And because of our free span design on the base, we were able to tuck the power in and underneath of the machine so that the track could run below the machine underneath of the main frame back and forth. And what we did was we did it really quickly. So the bracket takes the parts and ejects them out the back, takes the wires, and ejects them out the back, which meant that the track made a C like this. Well, that's great, except for our electronics box is at the back. So we made a C only to make another C and then return to the back. We were kind of in a tight spot. We wanted to get it working. But now has come the time for the reckoning of this part. And the goal is basically to take it straight down and reverse the cable direction so that the track can naturally flow back to the electronics box. And the reason we put the electronics box back there, as opposed to just putting it up here, was for two reasons. One, you have the gantry. The gantry takes up a large amount of space. The spindle being on this side means that all this space here is dead. When you put that to the back, you can see that point of the wasteboard is your first workable area. Everything beyond that is space you can't use on the actual bed. So what does that mean for us? That means that space is the best space to leave something underneath, because we're not going to have a wasteboard underneath of that section. We're also not going to have a vacuum system potentially in that area. So that area becomes completely free for use. And the goal for our next machine is basically to build a vacuum system at the bottom and enclose the electronics at the top, basically working it all into one little tight package so that then we can still get full 4x8 or even 5x10 sheets underneath of the machine and control and condense everything. And then within the depth of the structure, we should be able to get the vacuum system distribution back to that point. That way, everything is like in this really nice, tight design that allows either front access for materials or side access for materials. So I did a little bit of cutting with our Bailey horizontal bandsaw and a little bit of welding with our Miller 211 auto set. And I took this old part and just took the measurements from it and made a new one. So now we've got a part that'll go the other direction. They're both pretty hacked, but the idea now is to take that electrical package, all those wires, and send them out the back. So now we should be looking at a system that allows us to bring the track right here. We also painted all the stock red parts white to blend in with the rest of our machine. I was really surprised so far that I haven't seen anybody repaint these to add a personal effect to the machine, whether it was like a different color that they love or whether it was like this, and in the sense that we're trying to make it all look like one piece. We did a custom cover here too, because our kit didn't come with rail covers. So for a long time we were winging it and dust was getting in the bearings, and only recently we finally put on an acrylic cover. But that was just white acrylic, and we sanded it with some 220 to give it a real matte look. It turned out really nice. And in terms of the clearance here at the back, when it goes to the Y positive end, your rubber bumper hits here, and so you end up with the tolerance, allowable tolerance here. So there's quite a bit of clearance. So this can go all the way down to the end and not bump into anything. So I've got it all set up now with the new bracket. Clears the frame here, as you can see, and goes straight back towards the electronics cabinet.
Anyway, that's all I've got time for right now. Take it easy, everybody. Happy cutting.
With your support and encouragement, I think I'm going to do a follow-up video on how you can make this sweet tool rack.